Sponsored by Canadian Model Railroad.ca and by donations from patrons like you. And now on with the show with your hosts, Peter and Joe.
Well, Peter, what time it is?
It's train time.
Episode 51.
51.
March 2024.
Yes, we're a little late, but that's...
Well, that might happen.
Yes.
You know, under the circumstances that we're going through right now, it might happen.
Yes.
We may even have to cancel a show or two, just depending how things are going.
Yes.
This month, we have the first segment is what we're doing on the CMR with the Fraser River.
Right.
And then we got the photo of the month, and the photo of the month are all layouts. So we'll be talking later on during the show about artistic view of modelers.
Yes.
Photo, we got then the view from above.
Yes.
And our second segment is how they do rails. So we'll have a visit into another steel mill where they do
Manufacture rails.
So, and definitely some of the comments.
I know at the mill where I worked in Selkirk, they made light rail for mining and overhead cranes. That was 40 and 60 pound rails. So it's
those one. It's kind of interesting to see that video. Matter of fact, about how they do the rail and so on, and how they mold it really, you know, through all the stands
all
and
the
that type of
different
thing.
rolls and how it's shaped. Yeah.
So anyway, let's go and up on the CMR and talk about the Fraser River.
Well, folks, welcome to the segment about the Fraser River and the CMR. Last month we showed you where we were at and how we built it. Now, if you want to see how we do those mountains that you see right now, it's very simple. Go back on the how-to video that we have made about how to make a mountain and how to paint a mountain. It will explain to you how it's done. So the methods that we use in here is exactly the same. Now, let's have a review of exactly what we want to do. Well, in here, what you see is where the Fraser River connect with what we call the Columbia. Now, in here, okay, we got some wood that's just to protect the bed. In here, we got two falls coming in, and they come from the top of the mountains via the lumber aspect, which we will show you a little later. Now, these, when you turn the camera, now you see what the riverbed look like from now on. So I will let Peter talk to you about exactly what he's been doing in there, and we'll go from there. Well, Peter, what exactly is taking place right now, and what will take place in the next few weeks?
Well, as you mentioned, we followed our normal way of making mountains all the way along here. Once we've done the plaster block, we mixed up a compound of pancake batter of drywall compound, and the walls have got 2 to 3 coats of that compound on. The riverbed has an extra coat, and it has also been sprayed with a sealer. So once we do the painting, the riverbed will be ready to do the resin water. And all the way along here, we follow that same procedure of the webbing, tinfoil, plaster cloth, and then compound. Okay, we're now looking at this line in here is basically the CP line, and in the front here is CN. Those are our two main lines. We will be adding along the front here a fascia which will raise, and we will work where these gaps are to build the scenery right onto the fascia. Because of the lack of clearance here, we don't have much to work with. So we're not clearing the train by. So that's what will be going on here.
Now, how high is the fascia really, Peter?
Well, the fascia will continue on at this height, right through, with some variations as we see fit, as we move along, just to give the backing to the scenery that has to be attached to the fascia.
Whereas your hand is a portion of highway, I believe, going in there.
Yes, we've designed this piece here. This will be a rest stop or part of the highway. There's 2 lanes in the highway, and in this area here will be a rest stop which overlooks the river and the front CN line.
On the other side of where is your
Over
hands?
here?
Yes. Something pretty special is going in there, is it?
Yes, we plan on having a cemetery built in here dedicated to all of the lives that were lost by the Chinese workers as they worked through the Rocky Mountains to leave the CP. So that's what's planned for this little plateau here.
So, if I understand well what we're doing in here, when we are on the aisle of the layout, the trains would be down in our view.
Yes, and actually the way it'll be built up with the fascia and what we already got here, you'll really be looking kind of over the edge of the rock, just as if you were kind of standing on the rest stop or anywhere else along.
What kind of a scenery are we thinking to do as far as the river is concerned?
There's a lot of ideas for that. We're looking at the rapids, and you can see here that there's little drops where we will build whitewater sections. We're talking about fishing. We're talking about Hell's Gate Canyon, fish ladder, building up rock outcroppings, fallen trees, trees along the shoreline. So the scenery is right now a real mixture of thoughts, and especially the road itself and the other operations. Lots to think about.
Now, you were talking about the fact of where the highway is at the other end. Now, in this section here is the same thing happening, where we got probably 1 lane of the highway going around.
We've allowed enough flat surface for 1 lane or 2-lane section of the highway out on here. We won't have, the other one has a space for a rest stop. This will just be highway with scenery, trees,
Guardrail.
guardrails, that type of thing, yeah. But when you are standing in the aisle, like Bill had mentioned, looking over, like where I'm standing right now, I can only see 1 track. The other one is hidden behind this rock wall. So in order to see both of them, you're going to have to kind of belly up to the fascia and really kind of look over the edge of the rock. And hopefully that gives you the impression as if you were standing there in person
In the mountain.
Yeah.
And right in the front of you, you got where Hell Gates will be.
Across in here, yes.
Yeah, that's where we put the fish ladder in. Now, the idea of the fascia being higher and having the crop of the mountain in there, for the cinematographic view of that specific sections where the train would be running, it would be very much so like you see on some video where the CP and the CN are running, you know.
Yeah.
And we have made sure that we were having some curves all along.
We have some very gentle S-curve through here that when we do run trains through, now that we're kind of building up the rock walls and stuff, it really does look impressive if you have freight trains going through, or even passenger trains going through the mountains. And we've got, the way it's designed, we've got some pretty good view blocks, I think, so that you don't see everything all at once.
No. When you look from here towards the end of the mountain there, you see that it seems to be divided in two, which is made on purpose. On the left side on your screen, when you look at the end of the mountain there, that is the Rockies. When you look at the right side, that is the Selkirk. In between, it's a valley, and that valley is covered. That you got the little village that will go in there, and the only way you would be able to see that little village is not from the aisle, but from the mirrors that is there. So it will be a backward reflection, technically, of the village itself with an N-scale train. That N-scale though will be static.
And that also right now can be lifted out because we haven't built the village.
No.
Once the village is in place on that, that'll be put in there. It won't be a lift out anymore.
No, because all of that would be filled in.
Yeah.
So, and that will give us the idea of what's going on with the village. Also, as you notice, is a lot of tunnels. And about where Peter is right now is a fall that goes in there.
Right down here?
Yeah, that come into the Fraser, and that would create definitely some turbulent water, which is normal on the Fraser. So I was talking a few minutes ago about what we were doing where the Fraser meet the Columbia. Now, as you can see, we're back to where the Fraser meet the Columbia. And here is a small fall that come in here, and then here is the main one. The main one is coming in from the top in here. Now, that, when you take that in consideration of the water, that fall where you got the mill, the wood mill, will come all along in here. There is the fall going into that pond, and the pond goes into the fall that goes to the Fraser and the Columbia. So when we take out the board that is protecting this board in here, when we take that out is the bridge, but we will be able to see the water on the bottom of it. And what happened is a plexiglass that will go in front of it so we don't destroy the bridge and the scenery that would be in there. This piece of the layout, which is called the Burton Falls, and our layout, is a pretty major piece of scenery that would be in there. Now, that being in the constructions for a few years, we could not complete this till at that point we have the Fraser River totally done. The minute that is done, we're ready to do the scenery in here. So I hope you did enjoy that segment.
we look at those pictures
Yes.
from the photo of the month.
Mhm.
Many modelers don't look at themselves as artists,
Yes.
which, regardless what kind of a model railroad or diorama that you put together, it's artistic.
Yes.
The artistic value is there. You have, through the whole process, to use artistic license
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
when you're compressing a scene or that type of thing.
Designing a scene, even if you're doing a scene from your own maybe childhood or something, pictures, whatever. There's your own artistic license becomes part of that scene.
Oh, absolutely. Matter of fact, it doesn't matter how much you do on your layout. I will say it's not a good idea to try to compare ourselves to somebody else. You know, because sometimes they will say, "Oh, I cannot do that because those guys are doing it so well." Well, yeah, maybe they're doing it so well
But how
because
long
they practice a lot.
That's right. How long have they been doing it? So,
Right.
I mean, we all have started out at square one, and some of us are, maybe only at square 5, and others are at square 30. So, yeah, it's
Even the best of the modeler, Peter,
yeah.
the best of the best, they still learn, they still improve.
Oh, you and I working on the CMR, or even my own layout at home. Over the years, I've learned so much, and we still find little techniques to try.
That's right, and I can say that the first time I did the scenery, oh man, that was not even picture prone. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But it was a learning lesson.
Yep. Yep.
And that's how I look at it, and I think everybody who's starting the hobby should think that way. All the mistake that you make, or you think you have made,
Yeah.
okay, is the mistake that you will correct as the time goes. And then, yes, if you're starting and you're watching video of modelers doing sceneries and start to realize that everything is done by layers and that type of thing, your technique of doing it will change.
Yes.
And the first thing you know, you will impress yourself.
Well, I just look at what we've done on CMR with the mountains.
Yes.
Techniques in building mountains. When I first started off, it was the old screen molded and plaster, to what we did upstairs with cardboard strips and tinfoil and stuff.
Yes.
I mean, the techniques have changed so much over the years that when you're doing something on your own layout, say 5 years ago, and you look at it today, you may want to tweak some stuff because you learned so much in that 5 years.
You constantly tweak.
So
Matter of fact, somebody who saw the how-to video, how to build a mountain, had made the comment that they had never seen that technique being used with the foil paper.
Yeah.
And they found it that it was so easy to do. They didn't have to work with the muck and all that type of thing and so on. Yes, over the years, technique has changed.
Oh, yes.
And people want to have a layout or a module that is light. Well, I can tell you, with that methods to do the mountain, your layout or your module will remain light because it's not a heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's hard enough that you can plant your trees and do your scenery and so on. Now, if you fall on that, you might go through it.
You're going to crush it, yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, no.
Yeah. No, so I like you say, people that are doing layouts, if they're worried about not doing it right, go ahead and try different things, and you're going to find that over time your own techniques are going to be honed into a very artistic scene. So,
well, no matter what you do on your layout or in your module or diorama, don't look at it that somebody is an artist and you're not, because everybody that express himself by building diorama, module, or layout are an artist.
are artists.
And you have the total right to be recognized as such, you know, and all the rest is the operating and that type of thing. That's a different story. We're talking about when you're building. When you're building, even building some building, scratch building some building is an artistic side that you develop according to your imaginations, to what you really want to do. For some people, it doesn't mean nothing. For others, it does, you know. But the important point is what it meant to you as you build it.
Yes, absolutely.
So now, let's go, after this short pause, let's go to the view from above. I guess you got some news from Ivan?
Yes, I got an email this morning. He says, April edition of Heritage Rail Journal confirms Waterloo Central Railway has made a down payment on CP 1238 to the Prairie Dog Central, who are holding it for the current owners. So that's all he sent me. So I went online and I did a little search before the show, and I found this article. And it says, Waterloo, Ontario, the Southern Ontario Locomotive Restoration Society, operator of the Waterloo Central Railway Heritage Operation, is seeking funds to buy this locomotive, 1238. It was built in 1946 by Montreal Locomotive Works, operated in excursion and tourist rail service in the U.S. from 1960s to 1990s, then brought back to Canada by a private owner. It is currently stored at the Prairie Dog Central Railway in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and the Society has signed a purchase agreement with Vintage Locomotive Society operator of that railway. The Society is now embarking on a campaign to raise $150,000 by Christmas. This will satisfy initial terms of the agreement and secure the rest of the deal, according to Bob Fallowfield, General Manager of the Waterloo Central. The locomotive is said to be in good condition, and although in need of some time and money to put it back in service, it is well within our experience and expertise to return it to steam, Fallowfield writes. The Waterloo Central says that once restored, the locomotive would be the second largest operating steam locomotive in Canada. And there's a link there that you can send donations to. I don't know if I should... Donations eligible for charitable tax receipt are being accepted by a link at the Waterloo Central website or by check to SOLRS 50 Isabella Street, Post Office Box 546, St. Jacobs, Ontario, N0B2N0. So, it looks like one of the old Pacifics that came up back into Canada and stored at the Prairie Dog will be alive and well sometime in the future.
And you know that Bob Fallowfield, if you have been watching a lot of our show and picture of the month and that type of thing, a lot of time we got pictures of his railroad on there. So Bob Fallowfield is also an excellent modeler.
So good news for 1238 Canadian Pacific.
That's part of our breaking news.
Pacific class locomotive.
Yes. Now let's go see how they make rails.
Let's go and see how they make rails.
Peter, steel making is a big kind of industries that is represented on many, many layouts.
Yes.
Some people only model
Steel mills.
steel mills.
Yeah.
We're lucky on our layout. We have a steel mill and,
Yes.
and we have a rolling mills and we had a BOF and that type of thing and the retort for the
And it fits nicely into the back corner of
yeah,
the layout. Yeah.
which was giving us a lot of
Yeah.
thinking about what do we do there,
Yeah.
because it's very hard to access. Though our track gang didn't touch the track yet,
No.
so the tracks are there, but they're not
They're not hooked
they're
up.
not power yet. So, yeah, a lot of people probably had seen some videos on steel mill making different type of product and that type of thing, but it's pretty amazing to see now what they're doing when they do rail, especially when they do rail that are ribbon rail. For the longest time they were doing the 40 footers or the 100 footers and max and so on. Now you got rails, what they call ribbon rails that are a mile long
Yep.
and sometimes more.
Yep.
And on the heavy pounds per inch. So it's easier for the train to travel.
Yep.
They can absorb more weight than before, right? I guess the lower kind of pound per rail is pretty much so obsolete now.
Well, like I said earlier, we were making 60-pound rail for overhead cranes, so I think that application may still be there, but all your main lines and stuff for the railroads, I think, are at least 110-pound rail.
Yeah, 110, 130.
Yeah.
They got siding on 100,
Yeah.
and when you go into spurs and that type of thing, it would be around the 70 to 80.
Yeah.
So the 40 and the 60, the old days for siding and spurs, that more than likely has disappeared.
Yeah, that's like I said, the application we had was like overhead cranes or some underground mining operations, but that's...
Though that some historical railway may be running on that type of pound per inch.
Yeah, could be. Could be.
Case in point is, if we look back of what Alberta Museum is doing right now, they got to increase the poundage of their rails
Because of the locomotives they had donated to them, yeah.
because it was 70 pounds.
Yeah, 70 or 80 pounds.
Yeah. So now they got to increase that. So that's a case in point of what's happening with the railway, which is improving.
Yeah.
The train are getting longer. The train are getting heavier.
Yes.
So you definitely have to have something that hold them in place.
Yeah, we've come a long way from steam locomotives and 40-foot boxcars.
Oh, you see. Now they are in museum all around North America. Matter of fact, you look at the Strasbourg Museum, you look at here in Canada, you're going to St. Constant where you got the museum in there. You're looking at the Duluth Museum, Lake Superior Museum.
But you still have like this Waterloo one where they want to restore this locomotive and have it running. Here in Winnipeg, we've got the Prairie Dog that is still running on. It's not a static display. It runs. So
It's amazing to see when you're talking about people going to museum and that type of thing. The number of people that are not model railroader, they are not necessarily rail fan, but just the sheer size of those locomotives and the system on its own attract them to see those. Everybody had the experience at one time or another in their life to be close to trains, whatever, if you're stopped on the highway because one is going across, or if you were living in an area where when you were younger, you had steam train going
Trains,
by
yeah.
and so on. We all being subject to the trains as a mode of transportations.
Well, when you think of it, trains built Canada and the U.S. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Trains have been a vital part of our growth. So.
Well, yes, when you look at the history of it, it's pretty amazing. You're looking at the history of the CP. CP really was the first to go coast to coast.
Yeah,
And
transcontinental.
when they built in the Rockies and the little Chinese came in and worked on the railroad, which many of them lost their lives
Yes.
doing it, and suddenly they joined, that was the first continental train. Well, the same thing was happening in the U.S., starting with when they had the Civil War and that type of thing. They had the train, they were using the train.
Oh, yeah.
And now you look at all the lines that are down there, and it's practically a miracle when you think about it that a train from Canada now goes right down to Mexico.
Mexico, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the reach of the railroad in our lives is very important, because a lot of the goods that we got, they came from trains.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's pretty much so my rant on that.
Right. But just something to think about too is you mentioned museums. We're waiting to hear from Transcona Museum for when their opening is for their new shelter for their locomotive that was built in Winnipeg. So
Yes, they will have an
that's-
open house. Yeah.
that's coming up. Their grand opening, I guess, maybe in a few months.
Yes, I think they were aiming, I think, for May sometime or early June, I don't know. But they will let us know so that we can be there.
Oh yeah. So
And
we look forward to that one.
yes, yes. So the April show will come in towards the end of the month, and May, we don't know. It could be at the usual time, middle of the month or so. But like I said previously, we might have to jump a few months because we got to look at scheduling and that type of thing. It's not the fact that we run out of material, folks, though that we always accept material and we want to have your input, but right now is a question of health. No, don't worry, it's not my health and it's not Peter's health
No,
involved.
we're fine.
We're fine, but it's major thing happening right now. So, folks, hoping to see you in April.
Happy modeling.
Happy modeling, and remember, everybody's an artist.
Yes.
Don't underestimate yourself.
Yes.
So till then, have
Enjoy
good modeling.
Enjoy the hobby.